At the end of this month, eviction protections expire, along with the $600 extended unemployment benefit. That's expiring as well. So basically, we're heading towards a total apocalypse. If these things are not addressed, then we're going to be in a crisis the likes of which we have never seen, only comparable to the Great Depression. It will be a new housing crisis because the numbers are absurd. So we discussed it, but 25% of people in New York, 25% of renters in New York haven't made a payment since like March or something like that. All around the country, I believe the number's 32% haven't made their last payment. And then there are plenty of people who paid a little bit but didn't pay the full thing, and apparently that's a big indicator that obviously they won't be able to pay the next month. So this is the original stimulus check, the one-time $1,200 payment, that's long gone. The extended unemployment is running out. Nightmare scenario. So in a world that made sense, what would happen? You would have Democrats and Republicans come together in Washington, D.C., say, oh my God, we have this problem that needs to be addressed. Let's do it now, and let's address it in a serious way. Instead of that, because the world we live in doesn't make sense, what we're getting is the White House has their list of things that may or may not be included in the next potential bailout bill. So take a look at this. This is from Jeff Stein of the Washington Post, who really does great work. He says, Kudlow today, Larry Kudlow, Trump's top economic advisor, on some key White House priorities for Phase 4. That would be the new bailout. Payroll tax holiday, so that's a tax cut. Unemployment reforms, the White House wants to knock down the $600. So if they extend the unemployment benefits, it would be less than that extra $600, could be as low as $200. There's going to be return to work bonuses, a PPP extension, maybe not, targeted direct form of stimulus checks. Now, on this front, again, it would be a one-time payment yet again, and they're contemplating less than the $1,200 payment. And then finally, you get capital gains holiday. So for those of you who aren't aware, the capital gains tax is a tax that is on money made through investments in the stock market. You understand? The capital gains tax is a tax on money made through investments in the stock market. So in other words, it's a tax that hits basically the top 10% of income earners in the country, because 92% of the stock market is owned by the top 10%. So they're talking about a capital gains tax holiday, which is a targeted tax to help the rich, and this is in what they're considering for the next COVID bill. So Lee Fong weighed in on this. He said the following: Mick Mulvaney, again, part of Trump's crew, says if we have another stimulus, it should include indexing the capital gains tax for inflation. That would be a $2 trillion tax cut over 10 years, 86% of which will go to the top 1% of ultra-rich Americans. So, let's review here. We have eviction protections going away. And even if they extend them a little bit longer because of COVID, which they probably will because they have to, because COVID is actually worse now than it was previously. But so we have the eviction protections coming to a close. Even if they put that off longer, let's say another year, eventually it's not going to be there. You have the $600 extra unemployment benefit, which is either going to be eliminated or it's going to be knocked down drastically. You have a stimulus check, which again would be a one-time payment of probably less than $1,200. And the real goal is going to be more tax cuts for the rich in a potential Phase 4 COVID bailout bill. So in other words, they screwed you in the first however many there have been, and now they're going to screw you again. That's what's happening. So the CARES Act was a giant giveaway, a giant subsidy or welfare check to the corporations. That's what it was. It was officially implementing corporate socialism in this country. So now the corporations know they cannot fail. People can fail. They fail all the time. Screw them. We'll give them crumbs. The corporations, we're going to save. Also, the Federal Reserve, the central bank, jumped in $1 trillion a day of liquidity to prop up the marketplace. Yet again, it's another sign the oligarchs, the wealthy, the corporations will not fail. We will not let them fail. But the people got screwed, got absolutely devastated. Now it looks like if they do another bailout bill, yet again, the core of it will be really to help the rich more, to give the rich more money, to give the rich another tax cut. Even though they already got, how many tax cuts have they gotten under Trump? The 2017 tax cut law was a joke. 83% of the benefits went to the top 1% for that bill. Every tax cut for regular people expires. The ones for the rich were permanent in that bill. It was the Bush tax cuts on steroids. And now, yet again, this is what we're looking at right here. Naomi Klein wrote the book, The Shock Doctrine. And the idea is, whenever there's a crisis, whenever there's a tragedy, whenever there's a moment of chaos or mayhem, you have people exploit that for a pre-existing ideology or philosophy. And so oftentimes we see it, whether it's the supply side economics people, the Reaganomics people, the trickle-down people, they're waiting in the wings to jump in and say, all right, cut taxes for the rich even more. It's what we have to do. We have no choice. See, that's what happens. When there's a moment of chaos, people come in, they pretend to be experts. We have no choice. We got to do what we got to do. We got to cut taxes for the rich. The neocons, same thing. The neocons always wanted to overthrow Iraq. They saw with 9/11 an opportunity. Oh, what if we say Saddam worked with Al-Qaeda? What if we say Saddam has weapons of mass destruction and he's threatening the United States? What if we do that? Then we could topple Iraq. Then we could do it. So let's use 9/11. Let's exploit this tragedy for something we already wanted to do. We just need to sufficiently build the case and use the chaos and use the mayhem to our advantage. To have these people, swoop in and get exactly what they want. This is what we're seeing yet again. And unfortunately, the left is so weak and beaten down and so bad at strategizing, and they have no teeth, that they'll probably go along with this too. They'll get tiny little concessions here and there, but then ultimately vote for it. And maybe make a couple noises about how it's not perfect, but we gotta do what we gotta do. Pathetic. Pathetic. Listen, we're not remotely serious unless we're having a conversation right now about universal basic income. We're not serious unless we're talking about Medicare for all. At the very least, all bills associated with COVID-19 wiped out. Totally wiped out. All tests, all treatments, full stop. We're not serious unless we're talking about getting those 5.4 million people who just lost their health care, they get their health care back. We're not serious unless we talk about what other developed countries have done, which is temporarily nationalize wages for businesses that can't open up yet because of reduced demand as a result of the COVID downturn. We're not serious unless we're having a conversation about universal masks provided by the government. So we know what the answers are. We know what the solutions are. I've brought up this example many times, but look at what Japan did and how they handled COVID. They didn't even do a full economic shutdown like we did. They did little sectors here and there, but they have less than 1,000 COVID deaths, and it's because they basically have universal masks. Look at Germany. By the way, Japan's unemployment rate, at least as of a few months ago, was about 2.6%. Our actual unemployment rate is over 20%. We went from like 3.5 or 4% to over 20%. You have Germany, same thing, nationalize the wages. So this way people don't get fired, they get furloughed. Protect the workers, protect the economy, protect the country, and react accordingly and defeat the virus. We're just a mess over here. We're just a mess. Basically, the virus was used as an excuse to fully implement corporate socialism and have an oligarchy hierarchy. That's funny to use those two words back to back. But you have billionaires and corporations at the top of the chain. And they solidified their rule. It was basically a reverse Robin Hood that was pulled on the American people using COVID as the excuse. Meanwhile, the virus is still spreading like wildfire. We don't have universal masks. We don't have UBI. We don't have nationalized wages. And we are about to hit an economic downturn, the likes of which we haven't seen since the Great Depression or maybe ever. Because there's going to be a foreclosure and eviction crisis. It's on the way. There's a crisis of legitimacy already. You think that the George Floyd protests were overwhelming? Wait until you see what's coming. Because when you routinely deny people material well-being, as is happening with all these bailout packages that are geared towards giving more to the rich, I mean, you're begging for some kind of revolution, some kind of destruction of the system. I don't know exactly what form it's going to take and how it's going to come about specifically, but something's going to happen and it's not going to be okay. Because guys, if you get to the point, and we might be there, where like 50% or more of the country can't pay their bills, that's unsustainable. That's unsustainable. So honestly, people who are in wealthy circles, in elitist circles, and in Washington, D.C., they better have an enlightenment moment here. Because just like with the Great Depression, FDR, although he had so many wonderful social democratic reforms, he has left-wing critics who say, you know what? He actually saved capitalism. Because if they didn't redistribute some, well, then there could have been like a communist revolution. So at the very least, the people in power have to go, whoa, 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 whoa. We got to do something. We got to do some redistribution of wealth. We have billionaires getting way more rich in this downturn, and everybody else is struggling. They can't pay the bills. Not even the bare minimum basic stuff. So they better have an enlightenment moment where they say, we got to go in a social democratic direction. We got to at least do UBI and Medicare for all. But I don't think they're going to learn that lesson. And boy, oh boy, will they be surprised when they see how overwhelming the societal unrest becomes.